Hello again, gamers, and welcome back to the Board Game Captain. I'm the Board Game Captain.
I'm Lynn.
And today we're going to be reviewing and showing you how to play Rally 7. So first off, I want to give a big thank you to Tom Mays, the designer of Rally 7, who sent us this review copy to play with and film a review and tutorial video with. So now this is a tiny little self-published game. Published by Tom Mays, though he did not put his name anywhere I could find on the box or even in the rules. So, Tom, big suggestion, if you do a revamping at any point of the box design, you got to include your name on this. That's the first thing I want to say. Otherwise, box is pretty basic. It's got a picture of the board. Feels very old school in that regard, kind of like you would see for classic games, which is kind of cool because this is obviously meant to be very reminiscent of classic games. Now, what you get in the box is you have the rules. The rules are pretty good, actually. I was surprised by how good they are. They have a lot of diagrams. It's a big fold-out pamphlet. I read through it and I was able to understand it pretty quickly and pretty clearly, and then teach you. And did you have any confusion when I taught you at all?
No.
I was gonna say there's a fair amount going on, but it's actually pretty easy to teach. So I think the rules are very well done, especially for a tiny little, independent release like this is. The next bit of components we have are the dice. You've got 3 white dice, 3 green dice. These are standard plastic D6s. Not a whole lot to talk about here. They're adequate. I'm saving the best for last. So we've got pegs. These are also pretty standard, but the best component is the board, in my opinion. I don't know what your thought is on this, but I want to show this to the camera. So the game board is a big, chunky, solid wooden board with a graphic printing on it to show the lanes and the numbers. They have die faces to show the numbers and a scoreboard along the outside. And then it comes with, which is really cool, these stick-on little fuzzy feet to put on the bottom, which you stuck on for us. And this is the component that blew me away, is the board. I think the board is absolutely gorgeous, and the one thing, like production-wise, that I want to rave about. What do you think? What's your opinion on the board?
Yeah, the board is nice. I found it a little confusing because, like, the red dice are closer to me, and you're always used to looking at your side of the board, but it's like, oh no, that's not my lanes.
You'll understand that when we teach you how to play.
It's like flipped.
Yeah, you're...
It's mirror image.
To help you keep track, you are looking at your own color on the other side of the board. But yeah, the dice that are on your side, you always want to look on those. I agree, that is one minor gripe. But let's save talking about that for the review.
You guys say about the board.
Oh yeah, no, but I just meant the production of the board. The fact they have the nice big chunky solid wooden board. Well, it's not. It's a big chunky solid wooden board.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to go over to the table now, and we're going to show you how to play this game. And then we're going to come back, and we're going to talk about how this game feels, and we're going to rate it and review it. Okay, so here you can see us set up to play a game of Rally 7. I'm on this side of the board, and I'll be playing red.
I'm over here, I'm playing blue.
And the way the game is played is that you need to roll the dice and be able to get the right numbers to be able to move your pieces. And the object of the game is to get your pieces across the board into your home spaces while having the most points. So here's how the game goes. You roll the 6 dice. There are 3 green, 3 white dice. And when you roll them, you have to remove sets of dice that equal 7. So for instance, I have a 5 and a 2 here, which equals 7, so I have to pull that out. And a 6 and a 1 here, which also equals 7, so I would have to pull that out as well. That would leave me with only 2 6s. Now, if I were to take this roll, I could move my, this row here, my 6 piece, because you count the printed spot in your own color, the 6 that you're going towards here, because I'm red. I could move that 2 spaces on the board. Now, if instead I decided I didn't like this roll, I could do a push my luck single re-roll, which I'm going to do, in which case I would re-roll all the dice and hope for a better roll. Now in this case, let's see, I've got a 5 and a 2. I'm going to use I have 2 5s, so I'm going to use the the white one, I got another 5 and a 2, and I got a 6 and a 4. So in this case, it's not much better. I would get to move the 6 one space, and I would get to move the 4 one space. Now, when you do these rolls, if the particular peg in the correct numbered lane has already made it to its home space, and your opponent's peg has not made it to its home space, instead what you do is you get points equal to the face value of that lane. In this case, this is the 6th lane. That would get me 6 points. So I could use one of my scoring pegs over here and move up the scoring track here to the number 6, and I would get 6 points instead of moving. Now, if you get the exact number of moves to land on one of your opponent's pieces, you can bump them. If one of your opponent's pieces is after these hash mark spots in the middle of the board, and I were to say get 2 6s, and I could bump them, I would land on them, and I would take their spot, and they would bump back to the spot with the hash marks. If I were to bump them while they're in the hash mark spot, they go back 2 spaces to the first green spot in their track. And if I were to bump them before they make it to the hash mark spot, like over here, they bump to the bump off spot, which is all the way at the beginning. Now, if your peg is either in the bump off spot or in the hash mark spot before you roll, anything you roll counts twice. So for instance, for Lynn's peg here in the hash mark spot on her 1 lane, if she were to roll 2 1s, each of those 1s would move her 2 spaces. So she would go 1 2 for the first one and 1 2 and make it to the home space all the way from the hash mark spot with only 2. If she had a third one, that would get double points. So now a 1 gets you 1 point. This would be worth 2 points, again, because she started in the hash mark spot. If you are going to try to bump someone while they are in a green spot, at least one of the dice used to move into that green spot must have been a green die. So if you roll multiple dice that are green and white and could be matched up to make a 7, you're going to want to get rid of your white dice, not your green dice, because the green dice are far more important to hold on to because they could be used to bump somebody. One final rule I forgot to mention is that after your second roll, if you push your luck for a second roll and your second roll is nothing but 3 sets of 6s, so let's say I have a 6 and a 1, and a 5 and a 2, and a 3 and a 4, like something something like this, you can roll a third time. Also, there are 2 possible rolls that instead of continuing to re-roll, or if you run out of rolls, you could just use them to get bonus points. And one of them is what I actually just set up here. If you roll a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, instead of moving or doing anything else, you can simply trade that in for 21 points. In addition, if you just get 3 sets that equal 3 sets of 7, so that you cannot use them, and it's either your third roll or you just don't want to re-roll, you can trade that in for a bonus 7 points. And that's the whole game. So now we're going to run you through a few rounds and show you how to play. So first off, we're going to roll off 1 die each and see who gets higher for who goes first. I rolled a 5.
2.
So I'm going to go first. So I'm going to roll the 6 dice and show you how this goes. So I rolled the 6 dice. So I got a 6 and a 1. I have to pull that out. And then I got a 3, a 1, and 2 2s. That's pretty good. 4 of my dice are usable. I'm going to stick with that. So let's see here. So I got a 1. So my 1 lane, I can move up 1 peg, and then I'm going to pull that out. I got 2 2s, so I can move 2 forward on the 2 lane, which this is my 2 lane right here. And I have a 3, and I'm going to move up 1 on the 3 lane, and that's it for me. And I'm going to pass the dice to Lynn.
Okay, so I got a 4 and a 3.
So that's a 7, yep.
And that is...
And that's it. Yeah, you actually got that's a really good roll.
So I have 2 3s. So I'm going to move 2 spots. I have 1 5 and 1 6.
Wow, very nice roll. Okay, so my turn. Let's see what I can get. Let's see. Whoa, I got 3 6s and only 1 1. So I have to remove one of the 6s with the 1. And then I got a 3 and a 2. So that's actually a really good roll too. I'm going to hold on to that. So for my 6 lane, I'm going to move up twice for the 2 6s. For the 3 lane, which is right here, I get to move again. And for the 2 lane, I get to move up into the hash marks, which is nice because that's a tough spot to bump people because it's green. And then on my next roll, I'm going to get to count everything as double. If Lynn would bump me in the green but didn't have any green dice to do it with, she would have to stop 1 space short. So there you go, Lynn. Your turn.
Okay.
That's not so good.
I have a 4 and a 5.
You mean a 4 and a 3?
A 4 and a 3, yeah.
Well, actually, that's not bad.
And that's it. Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, I was seeing things.
So my 4 can move twice.
Yep.
And my 5 can move twice.
And you have a green, so you're going to bump me, so I go back 2 spots there. Ouch. Okay, good roll, actually. Well, we're right in the middle with a lot of these lanes. We're looking to bump each other a lot if we can. So let's see here. I got a 4 and a 3 have to come out. Other than that, I'm okay. I got 3 2s and a 4. So my 2 lane would bypass you if I keep this. I probably am going to keep this because this is not bad. So I'm gonna start with the 4 because that's just easier, and then I get to go up 1 space.
That's
and then
the 3.
Nope, that is my 4.
Sorry.
And then for the 2 lane, I get to move 3 spaces. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and just pass you by. Ooh, you got 2 6s and no 1s. That's good.
Yeah.
Did you get... Are all of those usable?
Yes.
Oh, wow. What a roll.
I got 2 2s, 2 4s, and 2 6s.
Very nice.
So 2 6s.
Gets you to the hash marks.
2 4s will bump you.
Uh-oh. And that puts me to the bump off space. That's a lousy spot to be in.
And 2 2s.
Jeez. Man, you butchered me on that one. Come on. I would like lots of 3s, please, to get out of the bump off space. Okay. So let's see. I got 2 3s. It's not bad. And no 4s. So those don't match up with anything. I do have a 6 and a 1. But...
And a 5 and a 2.
Oh, man. You're right. That's a toughie. I think I'm going to re-roll because that's lousy, actually. It would have been good for the 3 lane and bad for everything else. So let's try that again. All right, so I got 2 5s and 2 2s. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's even worse. Oh, no, and a 1 and a 3 is all I've got. So, okay. Well, on my 1 lane, that's going to count twice because I'm in the hash marks. So I get to move 2 spaces. And my 3 is going to count twice because I'm on the bump off space. So I'll move 2 spaces out of there. So not terrible, but not great either.
Okay, so I got a 6 and a 1.
And a 5 and a 2.
5 and a 2. Let me see.
Well, at least it's not just me getting killed by the dice.
I think I'm going to reroll.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's a tough roll. Thinking about it still?
Yeah.
Go for the reroll. All right.
Okay, so I got a 6 and a 1.
Yeah, but you get to keep the other 6.
Yeah.
And the other dice, actually, that's not bad. That's actually a pretty good roll.
So I got 2 2s. So I got 1 2.
Pass the hash marks right by.
I got 1 4. And it's green. So
are you bumping me again? Oh.
And then...
You didn't put the pain.
Oh, sorry. And then 1 6.
Okay. Oh, man. You've bumped that piece twice now. All right. Let's see what I can get. So I got 2 1s. Oh, 3 1s. 4. I got a 4 and a 3 I got to pull. But I got 3 1s and a 2. Which is interesting because the 1s are going to get to go 1.
That's me.
Oh, you're right. My bad.
I was in the black one.
You were here.
Thank you.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. I'll get to bump you for a change. That's what I've grabbed the wrong peg. So I'm going to stick with this. I'm not re-rolling because this is actually really good because I'm going to finally get to bump you back. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to bump you, which being, yep, there you have to go all the way back to your bump off space. That's for my 3 1s. I can pull them out. And I've got 1, 2, which I can use here to just move up, which is not bad. But finally getting to bump you 1, I think, was worthwhile enough.
I have 4 and a 3.
Yes.
And the rest I can use.
Yes, you can.
So I'm going to use this to go twice because I'm in the bump off.
Indeed, indeed.
My 5.
That's also doubles.
Oh. So then I make it home.
You make it home.
And then I have 1 3.
Nice. Okay. Come on. I need something here. I'm not doing so hot. Let's see. I got 2 1s, 2 2s, and a 4 and a 3, which I'll have to pull out. I think I'm gonna stick with that. So let's see here. So with the 2 2s, I can make it home. With the 2 1s, I can be 1 spot from home. There we go.
Okay, so
6 and a 1. That's not bad. That's a pretty good roll.
So those are just going to give me 10 points.
No, because I made it home.
Oh, you made it home.
I made it home, so you don't get points for those. So you may want to re-roll, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. Because the 5s don't do anything for you.
Yeah, I'm going to re-roll.
Yeah, so to be able to score points, you have to be home and your opponent's peg in the same lane is not home, which we are both home, so that lane is closed.
I can use all my dice.
Wow, what a roll! Well, this is going to be very interesting. Go for it.
So I have 3 2s. 1, 2, 3 will get me home.
Nice.
I have 1 4, which will get me
almost home.
And 2 6s, which will get me into the
hash marks. Very nice. Okay. Like I say, neither one of us has points on the board yet, though. Let's see. All right. So I got a 6 and a 1. Got to pull those, but then I got everything else is usable. So I've got a 6, 2 4s, and a 2. My 4's in the bump off spot, which means those 2 4s are actually 4 spaces. So that's really good. So I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to the hash marks, which means the next roll of 4s will also be double spaces. So that's really good. My 6 spot here is going to get me right into the hash marks, which is a good spot to be. And my 2 would have gotten me points, but unfortunately, you are in the home space in that lane as well.
Okay. I got
that's really good.
those.
Yeah, I was going to say you only lost the 3 and the 4.
Those are useless.
Oh, the 5s are useless. That's right, because mine in the same lane. Yeah. I keep forgetting the 5s are actually useless for you. Usually, that's a really good thing to roll.
Okay. So I have a 1 and a 6 that I can't use.
And a 4 and a 3 you can't use.
Okay, but I got 2 6s, which is fine because they'll get me home.
Yeah, because it's double.
2, 3, 4.
That'll get you all the way home.
Okay.
Okay, and if you get another 6, you're going to be scoring if I don't get any 1s. I just need 1 1 to get home to close that lane. Unfortunately, my 1 is matched with a 6, so I have to pull that. That is 3 sets of 7. I'm going to re-roll that. That's terrible. Come on, something better. Let's see. So I got a 5 and a 2 have to get pulled. Let me get the white 5. I've got everything else is actually okay. So that's 1 5 and 3 3s. So that's good. So I'm going to stick with that. So my 1 5 here gets to move me 1 space. I'm going to pull that die out. And then my 3 3s, in my 3 lane, I'm in the hash marks, which means each of them counts twice. So the first one is 2 spaces. The second one is 2 spaces and gets me home. And the third one gets me double points because you are not home yet in that lane, which means I get 6 points and I'm on the scoreboard. And that is how you play a game of Rally 7. So you keep taking turns, trying to earn points, looking to see if you can get that really lucky 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to get those massive bonus points. And you want to be the first person to get all of your pegs to their home spaces on the other side of the board while at the same time having the highest score. And then if you do that, you are the winner. If you make all your pegs to the home spots but don't yet have the highest score, you have to keep playing, trying to get more points and get the highest score before your opponent can get all their pegs to their home spots. And that's it. So we're going to head back and we're going to talk about how this game plays and how it feels, and we're going to rate it and review it. Okay, welcome back. So we showed you enough of the game to get to a point where someone actually scored some points, because I thought that was pretty important. Now, we've played this game a few times, and it's interesting. Okay, so we usually start with the negatives. Now, you were touching on a negative in the intro that you found it confusing the way it was printed.
Yeah, because, like, if I'm the blue player, the side with the red dice is closest to me.
Mm-hmm.
And because, like, this one for red is the 1 lane, but for blue it's 6. Yes, it's not my color, but it's still,
it's the ones that's closest to you.
It's the ones that's closest to you, and you're like, oh, that's my side of the board, and that's my lanes, and it's like, oh, no, it's not.
Okay, so I will agree with this gripe. I think it's a fairly minor gripe, because once you can kind of get your head wrapped around the fact that you need to be looking at your own color, it's not so bad. But it did happen while learning the game for both of us a few times where we were like, right. I'm playing red. I shouldn't be looking at the blue dice. I should be looking at the red dice. Any other negatives you want to draw attention to with Rally 7?
I don't know.
Well, my one negative I want to draw out then is I do think there's a lot of randomness in this game. Now, because most of it is just the random die roll, there is a little bit of this, like, press your luck, you can re-roll the dice, but it's not like with a lot of other press your luck dice where you can actually hold on to some and just re-roll some. You have to re-roll all of them. So then that does feel really rather random again. And also that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we've had that actually happen in the game. And when it happens, it feels like unbelievably lucky. Like, oh man, I rolled a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I get 21 points. And unless your opponent gets a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it doesn't feel like you're coming back from that. Mm-hmm. Like that particular bonus score roll is very swingy. That being said, now moving on into positives, that doesn't stop me from having a good time. I enjoyed this game. There's a fair amount of randomness. You need to keep this in mind while playing this game, that you're not going to be, this is not like a complete information abstract strategy game. Every turn you're rolling the dice, every turn. And yeah, you can mitigate the randomness a bit by getting that one re-roll and maybe even a second re-roll if your first re-roll gives you nothing but 3 sets of 7s. But that being said, there is a lot of randomness in it. You have to keep that in mind. If you're okay with that, like, I'm actually okay with games with a fair amount of randomness as long as they're still fun. And this game is still fun for me. I would say that it reminds me a lot, actually, of a modern... not exactly the game mechanics, but just the feel of it reminds me of the Royal Game of that I'm a big fan of, which also has a lot of randomness, and is also a race game, because this feels like a modern race game. But I do feel...
Well, it is called Rally 7.
Yes, it is called Rally 7, yes. So it obviously, it's meant to be. It is in fact a race. I like that they added in some ways to mitigate it. The rerolls are the ways to mitigate the luck. It's still heavily luck-based, but it's fun. It's just an enjoyable game, and I think this is a good, like, family way to play our game. So what about you? What are some positives from you?
I like that it's not just whoever gets to the end first. Mm-hmm. You have to have points, too. It's like you could be the first to have all your pegs at the end, but if you have 2 points and your opponent has 10 points, you still don't win.
Right. So then you have to suddenly work on scoring. And also... one place there is a bit of strategy in this is, and we saw some of this, Lynn was doing rerolls even though she had lots of usable dice, because some of them were really not usable because they were in closed lanes, and she was like, okay, I can't use this roll. Normally 5s would be good, but I can't use these 5s. I can't score with them. I can't move with them. I'm going to re-roll everything. And sometimes when you're getting into spots where you really need to either move pieces or score, sometimes, there's that... should I take these 2 1s? I'm going to count them as double, or should I really go for the reroll because the 1s are all I can use in this roll? Mm-hmm. And there is something to that. I like the the extra value of the spots that let you get double moves. Because if you get bumped off the board, you can still come back on, and you count anything rolled for the bump off spot as double. I like that because it helps you catch up. I like being able to bump your opponent's spots, which again is another thing that reminds me of the Royal Game of Ur, which I'm a big fan of. And I love the hash mark spots in the middle, being able to count those as doubles. Because a lot of times, if you roll a real big roll for them, when you have somebody in the hash marks, not only can you make it home, you can immediately score. Like, I think that requires 3 dice with that number on it. So, like, you're in the 4 lane and you roll 3 4s.
No, it's...
Yeah, because the first...
because it's double?
Yeah, because it's double.
Yes, at least 3.
Right, so you need 3 dice. Because the first 2 will get you home, and then the third one will get you a double score. So that 4, if you're in the 4 lane, like in my example, the first 2 dice get you home, the third die gets you 8 points, which is huge. That can be actually really valuable. And I like that a lot. Also, and I talked a little bit about this in the intro, while the dice and the pegs are pretty standard, the board is awesome. I just want to draw attention to this again. I love the production on this big, thick, and I mean, just look at this. Big, thick, solid wood board with the nice graphic printing on it. I think the board is absolutely gorgeous. The board is my favorite component in this. I like games with solid wood boards. It just, I mean, it kind of feels like an above and beyond because so many games just have cardboard boards these days.
Or plastic.
Or plastic. And this is
the Mastermind one is just plastic.
It's just plastic. And that's another one where it's like a pegboard.
Yeah.
But it's a plastic board. I feel like the wood board just feels more quality. I don't even know if it's more expensive to produce a wood board than a plastic board, but it just feels better. Like it feels so much more substantial in your hand.
I think the pegs fit in the wood better than they do in plastic, because I remember when we were playing Mastermind, the pegs were like not really.
They're loose. They jiggle. But these are great. They fit real nice in here. So the game. Okay.
It might just be the 2 different materials don't like catch each other. Like if it was the same material, like if
the pegs are plastic.
Yeah, the pegs are plastic. So it's like if it was a plastic board and plastic pegs, or wooden pegs and a wooden board, it would drag a little trying to put them in and pull them out. I don't know.
So okay. Do you have anything else you want to talk about, either positive or negative, for Rally 7?
No.
So I think we're there. Do you want to rate this game first, or shall I?
I'll go first.
Okay, so how many stars out of 10 are you going to give to Rally 7?
I'm going to give it a 6.
Okay.
Because it's an okay game. Like, I would play it with, like, a kid. Oh, we didn't do all that. The age and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Like I would play it with like a kid, or I don't know who else I would play it with. It's just,
me. I like it.
I know. It's kind of
family weight.
Yeah, it kind of feels boring after a while because you're just rolling the dice, and then eventually when you have like one peg trying to get home, it's just like roll the dice. So I can't do anything.
Okay, I see your points. I'm a little more positive on this game than you. I do think the game is fairly basic, and I do think it's a family weight game, but I like it more, and I can't even fully put my finger on everything that I really like about this game. Why it is that it's as enjoyable to me as it is. I just like it. I like rolling the dice. I like because you don't see that many race games anymore in modern games. I like it being a race game. So I'm going to give Rally 7 a 7 out of 10, which means I thoroughly enjoyed this game, and I'll play it just about any time anyone else wants to play it. And also, special note, big part of the score also is the quality of the board. I really love this big, chunky, solid wooden board. I think it's really nice. I would like to throw out that if you want to support independent game designers and publishers, and you like the idea of owning a copy of this awesome, cool-looking board and trying out this game, definitely check out Rally 7 and get yourself a copy. This is really a really cool product, And actually, this is one like I could see myself just leaving out on a table because of how awesome it looks. It is so cool, but also I enjoy playing it. So I'm a little, obviously a little more positive than him, but 6 is still a positive score. So that is a 2 thumbs up review from us here at the Board Game Captain. Lynn gave it 6 out of 10 stars. I gave it 7 out of 10 stars. So there you have it. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, either on the game of Rally 7 or on this video, feel free to put them in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this review and tutorial and you'd like to see us do more like it, be sure to give it a like, share it on all forms of social media. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Board Game Captain. That's Captain spelled with a K on YouTube. And if you'd like to support the channel, you can either join our Patreon, there's a link in the description down below, or you can go over to our Teespring store to buy some really cool gamer gear. We have shirts and mugs and even a sticker. Check it out. Feel free to buy any of our merchandise over at our Teespring store. And until next time, game on.